Hello guys, this is J&M again with the second part of the series Make a Game with Unity. In this one I will introduce you to the game idea and show you how to integrate assets. The idea is quite simple. I briefly sketched here the design with Sketchbook. We have an FPS perspective on a landscape, crosshairs and enemies who happen to appear randomly. They shoot at us and we have to shoot them before they cause serious damage. We have a UI component in the lower area that displays time, ammo and our health. From the technical point of view, what we need are so-called assets such as a terrain, mountains, crosshairs, enemies and a head-up display. So let's get started with the project we created the last time and remove the existing game objects. Okay, now we have an empty scene again and we are ready to import a standard asset pack of Unity, the environment. It contains everything we need to create a terrain with textures, trees and maybe water. Here the import dialog pops up, so press import and all the assets will be imported to the project. After importing, something strange happens. There are 4 errors which are caused by the speed tree asset, but this can be fixed easily. Just select the materials like I do here and press the button apply and generate materials. After you did this, the speed trees can be added to your scenes, which look really amazing. You will see this later on. Okay guys, now it's time to add your terrain. Select Game Object, 3D Object and then Terrain. Okay, this looks very white because we didn't add textures to it. But before that, I will adjust my camera so that we can see the terrain from the center. First I reset the camera and then I move it a little bit upwards and to the right. And then I switch to an isometric perspective by clicking the gizmo in the upper right hand corner and bring the camera to the center of the terrain. Great, in the next step we are going to add a texture to the terrain. Select the terrain and then click this little brush icon here. Then click the Edit Textures button and then select Add Texture. Then this dialog pops up and you are able to select the basic texture, the first texture for the terrain. I think I will use this grass rocky albedo texture. Select it here in the dialog and press add. Okay, this looks better and now we select this first button here of the terrain tools to paint in height to the terrain using the brushes. I use a larger brush size and you can also play with the opacity, which represents the strength of the brush. And on the right side in the game view, you can directly see the changes you make for the terrain. So sculpting the terrain is very easy as soon as you get used to it, and you can change the shape of the brush, for example, to add details to the terrain. And, this is very important, when you hold the Shift key down while drawing, no height will be added but removed. Okay, I will draw this in here very quickly. It doesn't have to be perfect. And once I'm happy with the basic shape of the terrain, I will add a second texture to it. Again, press Edit Textures and Add Texture. And then I will add this sand texture here and press Add. Now select this new texture to paint these parts in the center with sand. After that I select a third texture to paint some grass areas. Great, this is looking better and better. The next texture I want to add is a rocky one. And for this one there is also a normal map that we can add to the second slot. And by adding this we can simulate more height information for the parts of the terrain where we paint in with this texture. I paint this in very carefully by using a low opacity for my brush. Okay, looks quite nice. The next step will be to add some trees. Not too many, just drag in 3 or 4 trees to make the scene look a bit more interesting. I will use these broad leaf trees. It's very simple, just drag them onto your terrain. And the last thing that I want to add to this scene is a small water plane. There are several prefabs. These are components that you can use out of the box and drag into your scene. I use this Water Pro Daytime, which is a circular water plane. And to really integrate it into this terrain, I'm going to build up the terrain slightly to create a kind of hole that will be covered by the water plane that I move to this position. To let the edges around the water appear more smooth, you can select this button, the Smooth tool, and paint with it onto the areas of the terrain that you want to smooth out. Okay, the last thing for this part of the tutorial I want to do is to select and rotate the directional light to emphasize the effects of the shadows to make the scene more pop. Great guys, that's it for this part. We added the basic environment, and in the next part I will show you where to get free but professional assets to add more details to our scene. If you like this series, don't forget to subscribe to be notified when the next part is online. Thanks a lot for watching this, thanks for your support, and I hope you come back soon to J&M.